Hey guys, it's Adam back with another video, and today we're going to be doing the second episode of Computer Basics, and in this episode we're going to be going over motherboards. So without further ado, let's get into it. First off, let's start off with the sizes. So there are three sizes, well actually four, but there are three main sizes of motherboards, and that's micro ATX, ATX and mini ITX. So I said that in a pretty random order, but mini ITX is the smallest, micro ATX is medium, and ATX is the largest. Well actually, extended ATX is the largest, but there aren't many of those out at the moment, and I think that's just for cases actually. Okay, so with research, yes, there are extended ATX motherboards, but they're pretty hard to come by, and they're basically just a little bit bigger than ATX motherboards, so ATX is generally the largest. Anyway, so moving on, basically a motherboard is something that connects everything together in a computer, and I mean that's kind of what it is, and that's how the words like explains it. It's the mother that kind of connects everything, so I guess that kind of makes sense. It's pretty straightforward, and yeah, there isn't really much to it from motherboard apart from the chipset, which I will get onto next. Okay, so the chipset, there's a variety of chipsets. There's X370, X399, Z270, Z170, and there's a bunch out there. There's B250, B350, and there's ones for AMD and Ryzen, and Intel, which is basically the two main CPU processors, and it's a chipset's basically a co-processor, basically, and chipsets can allow overclocking and a bunch of stuff like that. So there are like X370, which is an overclockable motherboard for AMD, and B350, which is also for AMD, which you can overclock on, but you won't get the best overclocks. And for Intel, there's only one overclocking motherboard, and that is Z270 or Z170 if you are on Skylake, but KB Lake is the latest. But they're the same pin layout and everything for the CPUs. I will get onto that later. So anyway, that's the one, Z270, and H270 and B250 for Intel aren't overclockable, but if you're not overclocking, they're pretty much fine. I'm rocking an H270 Mortar Arctic motherboard, and it works fine. So yeah, I don't have a problem with it, and I don't have an overclockable CPU, so if you don't have that, there's not really much point getting a Z270 unless you're getting a multi-GPU setup, but then you probably want an overclockable CPU. I don't really know. Anyway, let's get into the next part of the video. Okay, so carrying on, we're going to be talking about all the connectors. So the motherboard connects the front panel connectors, like these things, if you can see that on screen now, basically the power button and the front USB ports. They send power to the motherboard using the PSU, and basically it does all that, it does a lot of stuff. It sends power to the graphics card, CPUs, the whole motherboard itself, and you can do a lot with the motherboard. You can get an RGB LED strip and put it straight on the motherboard if your motherboard is compatible with that, though most motherboards these days do support that, so you will have no problem if you are trying to connect one of them, though I'm not really sure how to, so do not ask me on that. Anyway, so yeah, there isn't really much to it from the motherboard apart from it connects everything. And so now we're just going to have a look at one. Okay, so now we're going to look inside my computer. So I don't exactly recommend looking inside your computer, but I know what I'm doing since I built it myself, and I'm pretty experienced with this even though I'm only 13. So yeah, here we have the motherboard, and I'm not going to touch it because I don't want to get any static discharges or anything. So here's the PCIe lanes. There's one here and one here. This is steel armor on the PCIe lanes. This is the chipset, and underneath the CPU cooler is the CPU, and underneath that is the CPU socket, and that's where you put in your CPU. And you also have fan headers, which, if you can see, it connects there, and your front panel connectors, which are along here, and your USB 3.0 and HD audio. So here are your RAM slots right here, your hard drive bay. That's not to do with this episode, but you connect through a SATA cable which comes through here, so that's another thing that you connect your computer with. Over time your computer does get dusty as well, I do have to add that, definitely. But yeah, this is basically what a motherboard looks like, and there's lots of little solders, and I think that's a VRM there. There's lots of stuff. I'm not 100% sure what all these are down here since I haven't used them. But here's your 24-pin connector, which is where you connect your power supply to your motherboard and your CPU power, which can be 8-pin or 4-pin depending on your motherboard and power supply unit. But you do have to check that when you are looking for compatibility issues, because there are a lot that I had to check out for. Sometimes you can get lucky, but you do have to be careful. You don't want to waste your money. So yeah, that's basically it for the motherboard. There's a USB slot, USB 3-point slot here, and I think here as well. So there's lots of USB slots, and this is another PCIe lane that is, I think, ×4, X4 or whatever, I don't really know. I haven't looked into that since I haven't got a graphics card or anything to fill up those lanes. Here you have your back I/O, and that is basically things that connect, like your graphics cards outputs and your USB ports and everything like audio and stuff like that. So yeah, that's pretty much it to a motherboard. Here are your heat sinks to draw away the heat. There's those little silver and blue things, that's what they are. And they also look pretty nice if you get a good motherboard. They do look rather nice. And I do have to say, cable management in this case is not good, so doesn't matter about that. But you can connect a lot of things with this motherboard, and any motherboard really. I definitely recommend getting a decent motherboard. This, you know, something around 100 or maybe 200, depends on your price range. If you're really on a budget, go for a £60 or $60 motherboard, but just depends on your price range. Motherboards do vary in price a lot. So yeah, I definitely recommend getting a decent motherboard, because your chipset needs to be good if you want to overclock it, or your RAM lanes for speed and everything like that. But I'm not going to go over too much detail on everything else because they will be in other videos. Okay guys, so that is it for the video. I hope you enjoyed it. I know it was a pretty short episode, or I can't really tell because I haven't edited it yet. But yeah, I will go over the motherboard in slightly more detail in other episodes, like the CPU socket and the CPU, how that relates and all that stuff, and RAM and RAM DIMM slots and all that stuff. But I'm not going to go over that because that is purely for those components. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff that CPUs and motherboards that need for There's a lot of things that motherboards need for compatibility with CPUs and stuff, but you will have to look for that. But I will talk about that in the next episode, coming next week, I say. Next Thursday as well. So I know I didn't upload the week before on basic components, computer basics. Sorry, I have no idea what I'm talking about here. I just lost my mind. But basically, I'll be talking about it more later on. Anyway, that's it for the video. I hope you enjoyed it. Sorry for blabbering on now. Anyway, that's it for the video, and I will see you in the next one.